Hey, how's everybody doing? Happy Friday. Welcome in. It's still light outside, so if you're out enjoying the beautiful late spring weather and you catch this later on IGTV, I totally don't blame you. But here I am, as I normally am. Friday nights, this is my 13th live stream. Thank you all for coming in. This is normally the part where I explain what my podcast and live stream is, but I think for the most part, after 13 of these, you all know what this is about, and I got a paid partnership with myself. How Bush League is that? I tagged my other account as my business partner so that you can see it in the corner. Well, maybe. So thank you all for tuning in. I wanted to start off right away by thanking everyone so much because just today I passed 1,000 downloads of my podcast. And obviously that is all you people. You folks that listen, like it, share it. That's how this happens. I mean, I can promote it all I want. I can go and tell people it's awesome. This podcast is great, but it's the people that listen and share it and kind of vouch for me. That's how it gets done. So I wanted to start off right from the top and just thank you all so much because this is something that I always say it's a passion project. It's something that I really enjoy, the creativity and the sharing of so many different topics, travel history, lifestyle, 80s and 90s nostalgia, and now I'm adding other random topics in there. So I like the fact that it's gained traction and people are listening and tuning in on various different streaming platforms. Apple Podcasts is where it's number one, but wherever you get it from, thank you so much. Also, thank you to the people. So I've said it before, I host the podcast through Buzzsprout. That's the website. And what Buzzsprout does is, obviously it tracks your downloads, etc. You can check your analytics and see where people are from that download the podcast. And so I just find it funny that number one city is Boston. And I figured that would be a given because I'm very New England centric with the podcast. I skew a little towards Cape Cod because that's where I'm from, but I'm New England centric. So I expected them to be up there. I was surprised that Manhattan, New York, and Atlanta, Georgia are in my top 5 most downloads from these cities. And it's not that I don't expect it. It's just, it's neat to see kind of the tentacles spreading. So if anyone watches this afterwards, when I get done, it goes up on IGTV, YouTube with chapters and Twitter, etc. So if any of you are from Manhattan or Atlanta later and you see this, thank you for tuning in. I don't know how you found my New England-centric podcast, but welcome aboard. So yesterday, episode 21 dropped. That's my newest one. Let's see if I can find... There we go. Oh, that's just terrible. So it's too big for the screen. So I apologize. I can't show you the place card. Yeah, that's just terrible. Episode 21 has a couple of really great Cape Cod-centric stories in it. Anyone who's a longtime Cape Codder, around my age, so I'm early 40s, you might have remembered the wreck of the Eldia. If not, basically in 1984, in the spring, a big storm happened. It pushed this 471-foot freighter onto the beach at Nauset Beach in Orleans. And it sat out there for, I believe it was 7 weeks. And at first during this storm, people were going to the beach and seeing this gigantic ship on the beach and calling the police, and the cops were like, yeah, right. There's nothing like that down there. But after enough calls came in, the cops went down and there it was, the Eldia, wrecked up on the shore. And it became a tourist attraction. Town of Orleans started charging $2 for people to park at the beach and go see the ship. And I remember I went, so I would have been 6.5 years old. Me, my mother, my stepfather, my oldest sister, who's 2 years younger than me, and my brother, who was less than a year old. And we hiked somewhat over the dunes and got to see it. It was the biggest thing I'd ever seen, was this ship. If any of you follow me on Twitter, I just shared a video that shows the whole salvage of the Eldia. You can find it on YouTube. I'm trying to think of the guy's name who did it. But it's on Twitter, and it's fascinating. It's like a 20-minute video. You can also go and find the old Boston news footage, like Channel 4, WBZ. Oh, see, I didn't get any pictures with the ship, Chill. I wish. I've watched all of the news footage to see if I could find myself there, but I read that more than 100,000 people went to see that ship in the 7 weeks it was there. So there's a lot of people on film. Also, later on in my retro segment, this is another thing for longtime Cape Codders. Does anyone out there, did you go in 5th grade and stay at the youth hostel that was part of the National Seashore? If you did, this will all be familiar. If not, I'll kind of sum it up. 5th grade, students in, I know DY, Dennis Yarmouth District, and a couple of other ones. The classes would like draw through a lottery, and each class would get to go and stay for a week at the National Seashore. This is in Truro. So we're way up on Cape Cod. It's the wrist of Cape Cod, if Cape Cod is an arm. And so I remember going. It was a lot of fun. There's a story I tell in the podcast that I'll sum it up. Basically, the end of the evening, like you'd be going to bed, there's a dorm. They were downstairs, concrete walls with bunks. It's a hostel, so it's not, a 5-star hotel. And one of the chaperones would tell you a story, like a bedtime story. And whatever story he was telling, one of the kids in the bunks thought it was funny, and he started laughing. But like an annoying laugh that never stopped. And it was sort of like a race against time, whether the chaperone could get done with the story or if he would snap and go after this kid. And unfortunately, he snapped. So I can't make this up. He's telling the story. He's sitting in a metal folding chair in the middle of the dorm room. And he gets up. The kid was on a top bunk. He grabs him by the sleeping bag and drags him out of the top bunk and drags him into the hallway and leaves him out there. And that was the end of the story, or him telling the story. But after he left, it was like you could hear the kid laughing in the hallway, just echoing. And it's like, that's my memory of staying at the Seashore, is the kid getting dragged out of the bunk and left in the hallway. I don't remember anything like I learned about ecology or the environment. Nope. Kid getting dragged out. So that's a good one. Also, the bigger news is that Monday, my 6th book is getting... So I tell a lot about that and about the whole process of going through getting it, okayed. And with COVID, it was kind of delayed for a while. So this is through History Press, which is part of Arcadia Publishing. Iconic Hotels and Motels of Cape Cod. I go in depth about the process of getting it from an idea to finished product. But on Monday, you can already pre-order it through Amazon and History Press. But after Monday, it'll be in actual bookstores. And if you couldn't tell by the cover, it's the most well-known, popular, and important hotels, motels, resorts that have made Cape Cod such a vacation destination, like I say on the podcast. And so there's a lot. Most of them are still open because I did historic restaurants of Cape Cod and I did Cape Cod Nights, which was nightclubs and bars. And the restaurants book, every spot in there was closed. And in the nightlife book, there was a handful still open. So my publisher, it was kind of a concession by me. They said, if you're going to do this book, we need you to have the majority of these places still open so that A, people can go visit them still if they read it in the book, and B, and more important, we can sell the book in these places. So Chatham Bars Inn, Wauquasit, Ocean Edge, places like that can actually have this book in their gift shop. So that's coming Monday. And I'm doing a live stream on Monday at 7:30 p.m. where I'll be just talking all about this book, some of the places in there, and some of the process of just creating a book for anyone that it's not hard. I've got 6 of them. It's not that hard to create a book. The main thing is finding a topic that you're interested in writing about, because each one of these books is like an 18-month process from brainstorming to finished product. So you need to have something you actually want to write about, or else you're going to lose interest. And second is just finding the right set of eyes to get on it so that it gets published. If not, you can self-publish. I did that a lot. I started self-publishing books when the Amazon Kindle had just come out, and I was able to self-publish short stories and novels and poetry anthologies and things like that. But, well, I know. So my sister Ashley says I should give myself more credit. That's funny. You sound like me talking to my friend Mason the other day about him being a chef. We'll segue into that. Coming up in episode 24, so it'll be next month, I went a few days ago to a restaurant in Dennisport called the Cleat and Anchor. I don't know if any of you from the Cape are familiar with it. So it's on Lower County Road. Excellent barbecue, and it's got live entertainment, outdoor dining. I went and I interviewed an old friend of mine I've worked with before. He's the executive chef there. And I was interviewing him, and I wanted him to explain all about his accomplishments as a chef. He's very accomplished. He's run his own restaurant. He's been Zagat rated, as far as, I mean, that's a huge honor for chefs. So I was asking him, all right, so he's standing in the middle there. He's behind the other guy. The other guy's not 2 feet taller than him. But I was interviewing him, and he was being so much more humble and reserved than he used to be. And I had to stop the recording and say, you need to pump yourself up more. You've done so much. You know, I hated having to put him on the spot like that. But I guess it was my job to pump him up. If you've never gone to Cleat and Anchor, you definitely need to check out the barbecue. So because I went there for the podcast, I was able to get this charcuterie platter. It's essentially a sampler. This is a little bit bigger than the one a typical person would get. You've got ribs. You've got duck confit. You've got in-house stuffed sausage. They make their own sausage. There's brisket, which is under my stupid face in the corner. But they have one of the best craft beer and wine lists going. Easily the best on the Cape and one of the best in New England. So if you want to go and have barbecue, yes, chill, Dennisport. Have you been there? I've been telling people as I promote it, I say, tell them that I sent you so that you can bother. Mason is the chef. Go in and say that I said to go. They've got this fresh bacon they make. That's bacon. It's gigantic. That bacon was so thick, and it's sliced, in-house. And he brought it out to me, and he just hands it to me, and I just had grease all over my hands, but it was worth it. So I interviewed Mason for the Cleat and Anchor, which will be episode 24. So you'll get to hear all about what goes on there. I definitely recommend it. But that's just something where my sister was saying I should give myself more credit. That's basically what I said to Mason. You need to pump yourself up. You're awesome. Yeah, so that's coming up. And thank you all for listening to episode 20, which it debuted last week on Saturday. That was my first bonus episode, they're shorter ones, one central topic. Typical podcasts are 50 minutes, mine at least. These bonus episodes are 20 to 25 minutes because I'm using the rest of my minutes that I'm allotted each month because they don't roll over. So if after recording 3 podcasts at a regular length, if I have 25 minutes left, I just lose them. So now I got smart and said I'm going to actually make a shorter one, use those minutes, and just keep rolling. So now there's like no weeks off. I was doing 3 weeks on, 1 week off, and that's out the window now. But I like it. I love doing this, and I hope you'll like the shorter ones. But this one I did, episode 20, was all about my grandpa and his life, his, why he was and is my hero and role model as far as my attempt, success in life and success as a human being, more so than just success in business. And I try to tie it where, even though it relates to me and my grandfather and my family, everyone has a hero. Everyone has a role model. Hopefully you're lucky enough that it's someone in your family that you can interact with. So I try to tie it up so that you listen to it, but you think about your own role model and your own hero. So that it's not just me telling my life in story form. It's something that we all can relate to. So thank you for listening to that one. And the next one that's going to be coming up is actually this coming Thursday. I've got another shorter one, and it's for Mental Health Awareness Month. And it's all about mental health, battling depression, and some myths and facts about mental health. And I'm going to go into my own dealings with battles with depression, because I think even if one person listens to it and they feel like they can relate, then that's awesome. I don't mind pulling back the curtain on my own life, because I'll pull it back on funny stuff and just embarrass myself. I don't mind. I've got a huge family, so we're used to embarrassing each other. This is just on more of a grander stage. But that's coming next week. The week after, in 2 weeks, I got a full-length podcast. And this is one I loaded this one up because I wanted to give a nice big episode that everything in it is good. Well, I think everything in every one of them is good, but whatever. Episode 23 starts off talking about Mildred's Chowder House in Hyannis. Anyone who lived on the Cape, grew up on the Cape, visited the Cape, anytime between the 60s and the 90s, basically, either went to Mildred's, heard about Mildred's. The Chowder is so famous that a person that used to work there, well, it closed in the late 90s. But there was a person that used to work there, and he shared the recipe for Mildred's Chowder and put it in the Cape Cod Times. And I think it was for, hundreds of people. So you'd have to really shrink the recipe down. But I've never tried to make it. So Mildred's Chowder House is leading off. There's a road trip to Narragansett, Rhode Island, which is one of my favorite places in New England. So the main reason why is this. Everyone knows I'm a huge lighthouse fan. This is Point Judith Lighthouse. My buddy Steve and I have gone here several times to shoot the sunrise, and he hates this picture. Well, he doesn't hate it, but he's jealous of it because normally this is on the grounds of the Coast Guard station, and usually there's a fence closed off. And I went there once, and the fence was open. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to go walk right in and take a picture of it. So I have this photo of it, and that's Point Judith Lighthouse in Narragansett. They've also got Crazy Burger. If you've never heard of it, it was on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And there's a picture in there of Guy Fieri with the owners. That's a great spot too. So that's coming up. Point Judith Light. And then, speaking of embarrassing myself, my retro segment is going to be all about my first crushes and my stupidity when dealing with those feelings for the first time. I stuck to the 1980s. So when the 1980s ended, I was 12 years old. So it's 12 years old and before. So it'll be all sweet and innocent and not anything terrible that might come when you're an adult. I'm trying to think of a quick one I can tell you to tease it. All right, so yeesh. So in third grade, there was a girl I was really interested in. I thought she was just the greatest. I used to get in trouble a lot for showing off for her. Like I would sit next to her and act like a jackass to just hope that she would laugh and such. And then I found out it was her birthday. So we are 9 years old at the time. And I asked my mother must have brought me to the store to get her a gift. I don't think I would have gone on my own. I got her something and wrapped it. And my mother drove me to her house, and I had to walk up to the door and knock on the door, and 9 years old, give her this present. And I'm sure she was shocked as hell to see a classmate bringing her a present on her birthday. And the next day at recess, I was terrified because obviously there's going to be some sort of response. And I'm standing against the fence, the split rail fence that we had at, I think it was John Simpkins Elementary School. And she came over, and it was wintertime because we were all bundled up. And she came over and thanked me for the present. And so I was like, ooh, here we go. So what was my smooth response to just keep this train rolling? I asked her to slap me 5. I said, give me 5. She did, but I'm sure ladies love that. The response. The guy asked me to give him 5. I was 9 years old. So successful with the opposite sex. So that's one. It was super embarrassing. And I don't name names because I think all of the girls I talk about in this segment are friends on Facebook. And I do not want, if they can figure it out, I won't deny it. But I'm not going to say who it is. That's not happening. In addition, this week, I started a TikTok page. It's not all 12-year-olds and dancing, but it's one of those things that it's an extra way to promote the podcast. And so it's fine. I'm already starting to lose interest because the first thing I posted was just me explaining who I was and welcome to my TikTok page. The first comment I ever got on TikTok was someone saying I didn't sound like I was from Cape Cod. Like, well, this is how it's going to go. Not even like, welcome to TikTok. It's like, you're not from Cape Cod. You don't have that accent. But I don't. My Nana did. She had the accent with the ka and the yad and all that stuff, but it skipped me, so I don't sound like that. Sorry. But if you want to find me on TikTok, it's the same. Christopher Setterlund. I shoot the videos in 4K 60 FPS. It looks like a movie. I mean, that's a bonus, but otherwise, If you follow me on Instagram, it's not that much different. It's really not. But I did it anyway. Because that's the whole thing is you got to find ways to promote yourself. I can ask people to share the podcast, review it, tell other people, etc. But you got to promote yourself. If you're running a business or you're doing any sort of creative venture and you're not the one promoting yourself the most, then you don't want to succeed. Nobody should promote you more than you. And that's just the way I am. I'm very hands-on, sometimes to my own detriment, but where I put so much on my plate that it's just like, well, we got to throw something away. It's all going bad. I'm going to be doing an article for Cape Cod Life magazine coming later in the summer. They got in touch with me and asked me to do something kind of in conjunction with the new book. I don't want to spoil it too much, mainly because I still don't know exactly what they want. I emailed the editor back and I said, you got to give me more details or else I'm going to write something you don't want. And then it's going to be like, we can't use this. You've got 24 hours to write 1,500 words. But that'll be fun. Anyone that has known me and my writing, etc., through the years, I did a series of articles for Cape Cod Life, almost 24 actually. And a majority of them were called The Shape of the Cape. They had to do with shoreline change, erosion. I learned more about erosion and shoreline change and stuff on Cape Cod than any human should know that's not a scientist. So it's not that it's useless info. It's just it makes me sad when I go to a place like the Monomoy Wildlife Refuge in Chatham. If anyone's been there, it's down past the lighthouse. And you used to be able to walk this pathway and the stairs lead you down to the beach. And you walk your way out. And back in the day, Monomoy Island was, well, it wasn't an island. It was connected. And I guess you could walk all the way out. Now it's not connected. And because of the erosion, you can't go down to the beach anymore because there's no beach anymore. And so knowing the whole thing with shoreline change, it's terrible because I just know where it's all leading. Nauset Light, the road by Nauset Lighthouse has been blocked off, and they had to build a new road to get to the cottages that are behind it. And you can find those articles on Cape Cod Life's website. So most importantly, I found May 21st has been a pretty big day in my life. I had my website, ChristopherSetterlund.com, went live in 2008. The first copy of my third book, In My Footsteps, Traveler's Guide to Nantucket, arrived in 2016. I started in-home personal training in 2018. I had a good job interview today for a personal training gig, but I don't want to spoil that and then have something go wrong, but that's coming, so I'll get some more into that, hopefully next week. But most important of all, my oldest nephew, Liam, was born on this day in 2006, and he turned 15. So we'll just say that it makes me feel old, but that's all right. What also makes me feel old, now he's got a teenage mustache, which he hates getting it pointed out, but if he doesn't like it, he should shave it. When I was his age, I had a goatee. And he's also a good 5 inches taller than me. So it's one of those where it's like, I remember holding you when you were little and now you're huge. But it's Liam's birthday. So happy birthday to Liam if he sees this. I don't know why he would watch me. He doesn't like hanging out with me when I'm around anyway. So why would he watch a video of me monologuing? He would skip over it. But I hope everyone has enjoyed the podcast. If you've checked it out, if you haven't, they're all like buffets, kind of. There's something for everyone. I try to pride myself on that. Like, for example, I know not everyone likes history. I'm a big history fan, but Not everyone is. So what I've done is I try to make it interesting, A, but B, I put it at the end of the podcast near my sign off so that if you're listening and it's like the first thing and you're like, oh, I hate this, the whole thing's going to suck. I'd rather put it at the end and have you get all that way and listen to the other stuff. I'm also still going to try to do question and answer stuff. I don't want to cheat, but I have found a couple of sites that have kind of like canned questions. So there's I think it's Quora, which is basically like a question site. And there was another one that the name escapes me. But basically, I could go in there and type in Cape Cod, and the top Cape Cod questions would come up. So I could ask them on the podcast, but I want real ones. So who knows? I keep asking people, if you have any questions about the podcast, Cape Cod, New England history, travel, shoot me messages and I'll read them on the podcast. But you can't force interaction. That's why I started this live stream. If people come in and listen to my whole whatever and enjoy it, that's great. And then if they go check the podcast out, better. If not, no harm, no foul. I don't mind listening to myself talk. I had to start learning how to be a public speaker doing book events. So now it's kind of natural. This feels like a book event. I'm just not seeing you all, but I know you're there. So that's why I don't do anything stupid up here. I always make sure my teeth look good and stuff like that. And if anyone, I don't know if you have any topics you want covered, obviously don't name off like some random town in Wyoming and history about it. Like I won't know that, but Cape Cod, New England stuff. I will drop a little spoiler for next month. My mini episode is going to be all about the Cape Cod Coliseum and the history of it and all that. I wanted to do it in one podcast segment, and I said, there's so much here, it's got to be its own episode. So anyone that went to the Cape Cod Coliseum, I did, you get to learn or remember. I had a lot of people when I wrote an article about it, and I would ask them their memories of it, and almost everyone was like, oh, I don't remember, I was drunk. So I'm like, all right, thanks. But I found a lot of neat stuff that I can share. So hopefully you'll like that one. And yeah, that's all the good stuff. I got my Buy Me a Coffee thing. If anyone wants to donate to the podcast, there's no pressure, but anything that has gotten donated goes into ads on Facebook and Instagram. They have helped a lot. The month of May, and it's not over yet, I've had my biggest single day for downloads, biggest week for downloads, and this is already my biggest month. So I'm hoping it's only just going up from here. And I've got lots and lots of fun stuff planned. And remember, come back on Monday for the live stream there. It'll be all about the books. And hopefully you'll like the book. I put a lot of effort into it, and it was funny. I actually forgot I had the book coming because COVID hit right when I had sent the book in, the first draft, and the publishing industry got, put on hold. So I had 6 or 7 months where I didn't hear anything, and I was too scared to ask because I thought if I asked them, they might be like, just for that, it's canceled. But no, it's actually coming out. Iconic Hotels and Motels. I hope everyone has had a good Friday. This was from last night. I went to Bayview Beach, and that stuffed spider was sitting there. It was facing the sunset, so I turned it around. But I did not buy it and bring it there. Although I should have taken it for my niece Sylvie, but I'm not going to give her some toy that might have sand fleas on it. We can't have that. But definitely get out there and enjoy the weather. It's supposed to be warmer tomorrow, but cloudy. As you can see, I've got some color because I've been out riding my bike and doing long walks or runs. I can't run like I used to, but take advantage of the weather. And thank you all for joining in. I always appreciate anyone, even if we don't have a lot of chat, I appreciate you coming and checking me out, because unless you know me, you have no clue what this would be about. So I appreciate people taking a chance. And then you come in and it's me talking about my podcast and books, and usually I have some kind of funny story. I don't want to tell the story about the turkeys because my mom is in the chat and she didn't like when I started it. I'll just say I had a close encounter with a wounded turkey a few nights ago that ended up being something out of a movie. I couldn't have made it up. Maybe I'll share it on the podcast. But the turkey's still alive, as far as I know. I didn't see it dead. So everyone enjoy the rest of the Friday. It's now dark out. I can see the darkness. And come back on Monday. I hope if anyone gets the book on Monday, let me know what you think, what your favorite chapter is. There's some places in there that everyone will know. There are some that I bet nobody will know, because that was the whole point. It can't be paint by numbers. It's got to be outside the box also to kind of make it worth reading. Because if it's like every other hotel and lodging guide, then it's like, why get mine? I just have good photography with it. So thank you all. I really appreciate it. Go check out the podcast. It's everywhere you get it. It's all platforms. So we're talking, and I try to show you that and it's too big for the screen. But it's Apple, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon. I'm working on another YouTube segment for it. So that'll be going up on Monday. It has to do with the new book, so I'm kind of holding back. But I will see you on Monday, 7:30. We'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll be on location. Who knows? Because it'll still be sunny out. Have a good night, Shlee. That's my sister in the chat right there. And my mom right above her. And I'm going to go and edit this. It's going up on IGTV as soon as I click off. And then it'll be on YouTube later, Facebook, Twitter, after that. So thanks for joining in. Lucky number 13 of the Without a Map live stream series is in the books. And I will talk to you again on Monday. Have a great night.